The official City of Nanaimo podcast unravels the intricate layers of a growing city on Vancouver Island and the opportunities and challenges to running a municipality. Drawing parallels to the iconic multi-layered Nanaimo bar, the podcast boasts a delightful blend of flavors with conversations that dive deep into Nanaimo's rich history, diverse culture, and vibrant community. I'm Dale Burgos, the manager of the Corporate Communications and Community Relations for the City of Nanaimo, and I'll be your host. Each episode peels back a different layer of Nanaimo's identity. We offer listeners a flavorful glimpse into the heart and soul of Nanaimo. Whether you're a resident, a newcomer, or simply curious about this coastal gem, join us as we savor the sweetness of Nanaimo, one conversation at a time. Today on the Sweet Laird podcast, we're talking about accessibility in our civic facilities. We'll share updates on recent and upcoming facility improvements and take a look behind the scenes at how staff training helps ensure safe, welcoming, and high-quality experiences for everyone. Now, we've taken it outside. We're on the road. This is something very, very different. And we're also on video. So I'm going to just wave to the cameras. Everyone, let's just wave to the cameras. Right? Hello. So the Sweet Laird podcast is on the road. And the reason why, we'll find out in just a minute. But we're sitting here in Westwood Lake Park. Beautiful, beautiful place. And I'm here with two lovely people, Laara Clarkson and Mike Bryson. Let's do introductions. So Laara, introduce yourself, title, and how long have you been with the city now?
Great. Thanks for having me here today, Dale. No, this is great. Like you said, my name is Laara Clarkson. I'm one of the recreation managers in the Department of Parks, Recreation and Culture, and I've been with the city since 1999.
Wow.
Yeah, going on 27 years. Thank you.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, go ahead.
Wow,
Mike.
it's a long time. My name is Mike Bryson. I'm the Deputy Director of Civic Facilities. Mm-hmm. And I've been with the city almost 7 years, not quite as long as Laura.
Yes. Oh, well, hey, but we've all got this experience, right? So, I mean, I've only been with the city 2 years. But it's not about me. We're talking about you right now, too. Now, first off, because we are in public here, and for those that listen to the podcast regularly, you're going to notice some differences. You're going to notice some background noises. We're actually not far from the bathrooms, so you might even hear a toilet flush here or there, or some kids playing in the background by the water. This is it's an amazing concept. I love this idea. I hope to do this more, so let's get right into it. So maybe, Mike, I'll start with you. So Deputy Director with the city now 7 years. Where were you before? How long have you been doing a job like this?
I've been doing a job like this for a very long time. I sort of cut my teeth in recreation in Fort McMurray, Alberta.
Yes.
Back when I was a young lad, working part-time with Parks and Rec. Stayed with that job for some time. And then over the years, moved in with the city full-time. Moved away from Fort McMurray down to Calgary.
Wow, okay.
And spent a lot of time in Calgary working for a not-for-profit organization and teaching courses on how to maintain facilities. Decided to move out to Vancouver Island in 2004.
Yes.
And bought a house here and stayed here for a while and got lured back up to Fort McMurray to assist in the building of a large recreation complex up there.
Yes, that's a big one. What's the name of it?
It's called McDonald Island Complex with the Regional Recreation Corporation. It's 15 acres of interior recreation facility as well as a 18-hole golf course, artificial turf football field, and baseball stadium. And yes, it's the crown jewel of Fort McMurray, and it's largest in North America, so it's quite the complex. So I assisted in the building of that and then the setting up and running of it for some time. Moved to Regina for a short period of time, just before COVID, to help out with some things there, and got to be part of the NHL game in the Mosaic Stadium and one of the Grey Cups. And
cool.
COVID hit, and I said, I'm going back to the island. And here I am.
Yes. Or winter hit, and you're going back to
hit, yes.
And then we scooped them up.
What's this snow stuff? I'm out of here.
Well, hey, you know I'm from Winnipeg, so you know that I know what winter's like. And I'm so happy to be on the island. This is just the best place to be, for sure. Laara, how about yourself? It's 27 years?
27 years I've been with the city.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But speaking of cold weather, I went to school in Thunder Bay.
See, I know Thunder Bay too, yes.
So I was there for 4 years, and when I graduated, I said, where is the warmest place in Canada? Because that's where I want to go.
No kidding. Is that Confederation or
Lakehead University?
Lakehead, sorry,
yeah,
yes.
So my degree is actually in outdoor recreation, parks and tourism.
Nice.
But I landed an indoor parks and rec job, and I've loved every minute of it.
Okay. So what was your first role at the city when you first came in?
In Nanaimo here, I was the arena coordinator, the rec programmer for arenas.
Okay.
We had Civic Arena back then.
Yes,
so
you did. Yes,
there's the two rinks at Bevan and the Civic Arena. So I did that for 8 years, moved into aquatics for a while, business services. Now I'm at Oliver Woods Community Center, and I still work with the business services team. So that's all the admin support, front desk, and back of house at all 5 recreation centers.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I'm also the staff liaison for the accessibility committee, the advisory committee on accessibility and inclusiveness, which we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
And that's a role that I really cherish. So being a staff liaison to support the great work they do has been a highlight of my career for sure.
Excellent. Okay. And again, a big reason why you're here on the podcast today. Okay. So the topic, we were talking about accessibility in city facilities, civic facilities. We're talking, what's that? Arenas, pools, right? What else?
Community centers.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So these are the areas that the public uses on a daily basis.
That's right.
Okay. That's the focus right now, because if we wanted to start talking about City Hall, different buildings, that's a whole nother conversation. Correct?
That's
yes.
correct. And parks. There's been
parks.
a ton of work on accessibility done in parks.
Yes.
And that would be a whole other conversation as well.
Okay. All right. So again, let's get back to the focus. And then later on, so this, as we're recording this podcast, it's May of 2026. The last week of May is typically what, Laara?
Is National Accessibility Week.
Yes, Accessibility Week.
With a capital A.
That's right. Thank you for mentioning that as well. And so that is an important week that we celebrate as a city. And we put out information. And of course, this podcast is a part of that information that we're going to be doing. So let's get started. Let's talk about accessibility. What is it and why is it important? Who wants to start with this one? Laara?
Well, our city plan
Yes.
that Mayor and Council adopted a few years ago has clearly outlined that access for all in our city facilities is a priority.
Okay.
So we have a lot of items in city plan. We have integrated action plan items that all relate back to having inclusive and welcoming facilities. And inclusion, of course, includes people with disabilities, and having accessible facilities is a key priority for us.
Yes, of course. And then you also mentioned that you're on the advisory committee for accessibility and inclusion. And I've had the pleasure of meeting some of those folks on that committee a few times now. That is. Let's explain a little bit about, or ACAI is also what they're called.
Some people call it ACAI.
But the long version, of course, is the Advisory Committee on Accessibility and Inclusion. Let's talk a little bit about what the focus is for that committee.
For sure. So just to clarify, I'm not on the committee.
Sorry, yes.
The committee has 2 members of council and then 11 members at large who are all volunteers. And we really appreciate the time that they take to be a part of the committee.
Right.
And what that committee focuses on falls under 4 categories. So they have a work plan. Item number 1 is accessibility in city parks, facilities, and city infrastructure. Item number 2 is helping us roll out what's in the city plan and the integrated action plan items. Number 3 is that they serve as a resource for city projects, for city staff.
Okay.
And then item number 4 on the work plan is anything referred by council.
Okay.
So they're an advisory committee. We have staff come and do presentations and ask for input. A lot of the folks on the committee have lived experience, or they work or support or have family members that do. So they always have great input, great ideas, great suggestions, and it comes from the networks that they work with out there in the community. So they're representative of more than just a person.
Right.
Usually they're representative of a whole group of folks out there in the community. But it's a really positive group. They always give us tons of great ideas.
They do, yes.
And most of the work that we've done and the items we'll be talking about today came forward as a result of recommendations from that committee.
Yeah, and great people. You're right. Yes, and great recommendations. I mean, even just for my department itself, out of those meetings, we made some differences and some changes to some of the things that we do here in the city. So, really, really great community, and thank you for sharing that as well. Mike, let's go over to you. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the Rick Hansen Foundation. And for those who don't know who Rick Hansen is, maybe a little background on that. Are you able to share?
Rick Hansen, definitely he's accessibility issues himself. Rick Hansen has been part of Canadian. He's a bit of a Canadian icon.
That's right.
He was famous for going across the country in his wheelchair, and since then he's put a lot of time and effort into creating accessibility awareness in facilities. The Rick Hansen Foundation is responsible for many municipalities having their facilities audited and completely revamped, so they have accessibility abilities for everybody that needs to access them. So the foundation Very active. They approached us back in 2023, I believe it was.
Okay.
They came to us and said, "Are you interested in having some of your facilities audited?" And at that time, we said we would. The deal that they proposed to us is that they would come and audit our facilities, 3 of them. It was the Frank Crane Arena, the Bowen Complex, and the Nanaimo Aquatic Center. They audited those facilities, and from those audits, they came up with a list of recommendations for improvements to make our facilities more accessible.
Nice.
They then provided us a fair amount of grant dollars to put towards those facilities and make those improvements, and we did, and it was a great process, excellent foundation to work with. And so much so that we enjoyed that interaction with them so much that 3 of our staff have actually taken training through the Rick Hansen Foundation
Really?
and have become auditors. So we can then in turn audit our own facilities for future recommendations.
Wow.
Mike being one of them.
Okay, so yes, so a little shout out to Mike here.
Shout out to Mike.
There's another Mike too in the city that's also one. Is it
Mike Brooks,
Yes,
he's
yeah.
our supervisor for facilities.
Yes.
He took the training as well.
Okay, there you go.
And Kirsty McDonald, who's our manager of parks and natural areas, she took the training as well. So
Great.
she'll take care of the parks and outdoor facilities, and Mike and myself do work on the indoor facilities.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite good.
I would assume, I mean, that is obviously a big benefit then, obviously, because you've done the training now that you have this certification to be able to now walk around our facilities and identify any challenges, potential challenges that there might be.
Definitely.
I love that. That
definitely.
is excellent. And that the foundation actually reached out to the city.
They did.
Okay.
Yeah, they approached us. Our former GM of our department, Richard Harding,
Yes.
came to me and said Rick Hansen Foundation had reached out to him and would I take it on and help out with it. So I said I would. And with Laura's help, she helped me out a lot with it as well. And we went through the process and it was quite seamless. They're a very, very strong, very professional organization.
Nice.
And the results are, we've got several facilities that are now certified through the Rick Hansen Foundation.
Yep.
And we have really nice plaques that we put up in those
Ooh,
facilities, so we
okay.
get to show off a little bit of bling.
Yes.
And it just shows the community that we're taking this serious and we're putting some effort and time. I mean, we've taken it from the offering of a grant to we're doing it on our own now. We're
Gotcha.
We're putting money and time and effort towards it because we feel strongly about it as well. So it's been a great process.
Okay. Well, now, as part of this process, tell me some examples of some of the work that's been done around the civic facilities.
Well, I can tell you some of the 3 facilities I mentioned, the Frank Crane Arena, the Nanaimo Aquatic Center, and the Bowen Park. We put in a lot of accessibility handles for folks with
Okay.
mobility issues.
Yep.
We put in some audio accessibility issues, some audio equipment for people with hearing impairments. We put in all new wayfinding signage, and with raised braille or raised laminoids, so folks with vision impairment can get around
Okay.
the facilities.
Yes.
We put in a set of sliding doors at Bevan Pool, so that
That
people
one's
could
my
have-
favorite
That
one.
was
Oh, yeah.
that was a good one. It was definitely a good one.
Okay.
We added in our aquatics facilities, because they can be quite slippery with being on a pool deck.
Yes.
We added a no-slip treatment to all of our aquatics facilities floors,
yeah.
so that they're a lot stickier, that people that have mobility issues don't have to worry about falling down and slipping. So we've spent some time on that. So we've taken all of their recommendations and we've picked the ones that we felt had the best impact for the people. But then we've taken all that information, all those recommendations back to the ACAI group and asked them for their input. And they've been very helpful in determining which would work best for them. As Laura said, they're the ones that speak for the community, and they're there as living the experience themselves. So they made recommendations based on what would make it easier for them in those facilities.
Okay.
So it's been a very good exercise all around. Very, very inclusive, and we've had some great input.
Now, during all of this processes that you've made and some of the changes, do you have to shut things down, or can we continue on with our business as normal while still doing some of this work?
We've tried to do all the work. I don't think we've had to shut down any of our facilities.
Nice.
The biggest probably impact was the sliding doors.
Oh, okay.
Because it was a bit of a major undertaking. But the rest of the modifications and the improvements we've made, we've been able to do either working hours. We did do some of the work after hours, and the contractors that we worked with were very good and accommodating, knowing that we had to keep the facility open, but still wanted to get the equipment that we wanted to put in. So
Yes.
they worked after hours, and it worked out quite well.
I love it. Great.
Some of the improvements took place during our maintenance shutdown last year.
Oh, okay.
So, for
Right.
example, the non-slip coating that went on the pool deck,
Yes.
floors and the change room floors and the shower floors and the floor on the ramp.
Yeah.
It was all done during the shutdown
It was.
period. So,
Okay. Yes. So and so then, if people were to run on these decks, that's still not allowed, right? And
Not
not
allowed
just
to run
because we
decks.
have this protection on the
as
floor.
a former lifeguard, I say
Yeah.
walk, please.
Walk, please. Always
Walk,
walk.
please.
Always walk.
Never run. Fair enough. I know the rules, and I've broken a few when I was little, but I learned very quickly that it's slippery. Be careful out there. Let's talk philosophically as well. Maybe Laara, maybe come to you, and
sure.
just some of these changes can make such big difference in people's lives. Yes.
Absolutely. And that one of the examples that Mike gave is the new sliding doors that automatically open at the Bevan Pool front,
Okay.
the front entrance. It makes such a difference for folks to have those doors just automatically slide open. And it's not just for people who are wheelchair users.
Right.
It's people with strollers. It's people with walkers. It's people with babies in their arms or carrying
Yes,
a child
right,
on
of
their hip.
course.
Like, what makes something accessible for one person quite
Right.
often makes it accessible for many other
Yeah.
groups of folks, for everybody.
Good point.
And so philosophically, we always try to keep that in mind, is that we're not doing it just for one group of people.
Right.
Although it will really help those folks.
Yes.
It also opens the door. See what I did there? For many other
She's good.
people.
Slid that in.
Yeah. No kidding.
See what you did there? It opens the door for many other people
Yes.
to have a more easily accessible welcoming to that facility. So
Okay. Yes, that's right. And thank you for that, Laara. I appreciate that. Let's talk a little bit about just going back to the staff piece of this now, right? And so, Mike, you've mentioned that there's 3 of us now in the city that are trained to be accessibility coordinators or assessors. But it's important that everybody knows something or everything about accessibility and what that would be. So let's talk a little bit about staff training and development. What do we do?
Good question. The 3 of us that took our training, it was important that we took that. But also, Rick Hansen Foundation provided training for several of our other staff. So we took a lot of our facility operators, frontline people, frontline staff, and we had, I believe it was a total of 16 of those staff that took a 4-hour session with
wow.
the Rick Hansen Foundation, just so they have a better understanding of what we were doing, what these new improvements we were doing to the facilities, how that would improve the accessibility to all our patrons.
Okay.
Aside from that as well, we do a lot of training with aquatics courses, arena maintenance courses, and in those courses is also components of accessibility. We've included that. And I mean, the old saying is that I'd rather train someone and have them leave than not train them and have them stay. So these are really good courses for our staff,
Yeah.
for succession as well as for their own professional development. But by far the best result we get from it is how they can better provide services to the patrons of the city.
Okay, and sorry, who does the training? This is the city staff does the training for
The
their
train-
counterparts?
the for the pool operations and that.
Yeah, just
Oh,
in general. Yeah,
We do courses. They're through an association called RFABC, Recreation Facilities Association of British Columbia,
Nice.
and those are primarily the courses our frontline staff would take.
Okay.
But the courses, the more accessibility specific training was done by the Rick Hansen Foundation. It was
Right.
all by Teams meeting, and they handled the training. It was great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
they offered us a few webinars too, and I attended them. They were really good.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you can get them at any time. So we can, as we go along, if we bring on new staff and we want to, as part of orientation or whatever, we can still access those webinars
Okay.
and have them part of orientation.
So now you said there was about 16 people or so that had taken some extra courses. You've got the 3 coordinators. So let's talk a little bit maybe examples and just how some of this education that was taken in by some of these staff. What's the benefit? Have we seen an actual benefit to having these people taking these courses?
We have we did the 3 facilities initially, and then we actually brought on another auditor from the Rick Hansen Foundation. It's a local Nanaimo resident.
Okay.
And he helped us audit some of our other facilities. So because myself and Mike and Kirsty are all new, we brought in this other well-seasoned auditor, and he's done Oliver Wood facility. He's done Soroxman Stadium. He's done the Nanaimo Ice Center.
Yes.
We've had him do a few other facilities, and then we've mirrored him, or we've shadowed him, so that we can learn from him, so that in the next 3 or 4 facilities, we can just take that operation over ourselves.
Okay, nice.
It's quite an extensive process, and depending on the size of the facility, can take some time. And then it's all very well monitored, very professional. It's all through the foundation. All the information goes back to them. They audit the auditor's findings, and then come back with final recommendations of their own. So it's back and forth a fair amount.
Okay. So then is the goal all facilities in the city to be looked at and assessed?
Eventually, we'll have all the facilities looked at and assessed.
I love it. Did you have something to add?
I do. There's some other city training I wanted to mention.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
Aside from the facilities training.
Sure.
The City of Nanaimo HR department puts together a training calendar every year, and some of the training sessions in there relate to diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility. So just recently we had a neurodiversity awareness training course.
Yes.
It was a half-day course, and it was really good. I got a lot out of that, and a lot of the frontline staff that were there really enjoyed it too. And that one as well is great for people who work with customers, but also to have neurodiversity awareness for people that we work with.
Yes.
As well, right? With our coworkers, with our teams, and with the community. So that one was really good. We do offer lots of LGBTQ2+ inclusion training, and have for many years now, as well as a disability awareness training course from the Disability Resource Center.
Yes.
One of the ones on the island here came up and did some training with us.
That's great.
Those are just 3 off the top of my head I can think of, but there's lots of different accessibility and inclusion training in our city training offerings.
I'm with you on that one. Yes, 100%. Those are just some great examples. But even just, and I have to give a shout out to the city. Yes, I work for the city, but kudos, because there are always options for staff to learn through some of these sessions, and it's a great opportunity to learn more. It's like we're constantly learning in our positions. We don't just sit there and do nothing. There are always opportunities to gain knowledge for the betterment of the people in the community and ourselves.
For sure.
Right?
And the neurodiversity awareness training came as a result of a member of the public who went onto our website and submitted an accessibility feedback tool online.
Yes.
She had an experience through a transaction with the city staff, and she is a person who is neurodiverse and thought it might be a topic that city staff would want to learn more about. So we got this feedback that came in, and we thought, hey, this is actually a really good idea for people that work with the public, but also, like I said earlier, just for awareness for the people that we work with.
Yes. Okay, and let's talk a little bit about the accessibility feedback form you mentioned. This came out of the advisory committee. There was a conversation, and we added that link, that form, to every page on the city website.
Right.
So at the bottom, if you have a question about accessibility, whether if it's about the page or even just a general question about accessibility, anyone is able to just click on that link and input their information and provide feedback. It's a great tool. We receive feedback often. Yes.
Every day.
Every day. Yeah. And it is something that we won't be taking away.
We won't.
We will continue.
It's mandated
doing
by
that.
the province.
Yes.
To have some sort of form
That's right.
where members of your community can give their municipality feedback on accessibility. And if you remember, originally we had it on the accessibility and inclusion page on the city website.
Yep.
But as time went on, we realized having it buried in the deep depths of the website isn't actually very accessible.
Right.
So that's when we decided to put it at the bottom of every single web page on our website.
Yeah.
So now it's very accessible for anyone
is.
that wants to fill it out, and they get read and forwarded to the appropriate department. They get tracked and monitored. So using that feedback tool, the feedback is heard, and it goes a long way.
Yes, indeed. Okay, I'm moving into the next section here, and it's a chance again for us all to chat a little bit about just why we're here today, give a little bit more information, and again, more bigger picture, questions here. So really, this one's all about community impact and looking ahead as a city, okay? And how do our facility upgrades and staff training work together to improve service delivery? I think I'd like to hear from both of you on this one. Who wants to go first, Mike?
Sure. I mean, the impact is huge, and just how we're talking about the no-slip floors that we put into the pools, the decrease in injuries decrease in people slipping and falling. The feedback we get from folks with mobility issues saying they feel safe going to the pool, they feel included, that they can go to the pool, that kind of feedback. And those are the things that we'll continue to, now that we're on this path, continue to improve and build on, and make sure that we, try and hit as many of those targets as possible. We've got a long list of improvements, and excuse me, and meeting regularly with the ACI group. We'll make sure that they're included in every step of the way, so that we have their best interests at heart and the community's best interests at heart. So it's going to be a never-ending process, and we'll just continue to improve as we go along.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that.
One of the projects I wanted to chat about a bit more, Mike had mentioned it earlier, is the assistive hearing devices that were put in at the front counters at all the recreation centers, and SARC building downtown as well has one. And that was funding through Spark BC.
Okay.
So we got a $25,000 grant from Spark BC
Nice.
to have all those assistive hearing devices installed at the front counters. And the quality of life now for people to be able to come in, it pairs right with someone's hearing aid.
Amazing.
They don't have to ask for it to be turned on, so it's barrier free. And so it's folks with low hearing that have hearing aids on, they can just speak through the assistive hearing devices.
And that's it. That's all it takes.
That's it. And there's no statistics on it. We don't know how many people have used it because they don't have to request it. They don't have to report it. It just automatically works for them.
Yes.
So that's a great example of something that's really made a difference, I'm sure, for a lot of people in the community. Even though we can't report exactly on it, just anecdotally, we know that it's made a difference for a lot of people.
Okay. I love that. Great. So let's talk a little bit more about, some of the things that, what can the folks that use our facilities on a daily basis, we have, I've heard the numbers of how many people we actually get on a daily basis, but even on a yearly basis, we're talking thousands and thousands and thousands, of course, right? A day. Yeah, right? So I'm curious, I don't even know, would you know what we would have as users for a facility for a year? Would we even have that number?
We do have it. I don't know it off the top of my head.
Next average of 1,500 a day.
Next 1,500 a day.
Then just,
so
we'll do some simple math then, basically. We're talking hundreds of thousands over the years, right? I love that. And of course, with these changes now in terms of accessibility, let's look to the future now. And what sort of things can people look forward to for those with accessibility challenges that they have in their life, and how can we make it easier for them?
Well, as we build new facilities or renovate facilities, part of the audit process will be to be front and center from the very beginning, right through the whole construction phase, through completion, so that's worked into the construction of every facility. It's not just an afterthought that we go into a facility. And we do have some older facilities that are very difficult to make, do some of those changes just because of the nature of the complexes when they're built. So having that mindset going into the new facilities that we're looking at, it's going to make a huge difference in how they're constructed. We're in the process of putting in some new features in the Nanaimo Aquatic Center. We're putting in a new water play feature, and accessibility was huge on that. We wanted to make sure that the apparatus we put in place was available to everyone. So there was a lot of thought process went into it. We engaged with our architects and design team to make sure that every aspect of that water feature is fun for everyone, so it's going to be completely accessible. So that mindset is in everything we do now. When we take on our projects, the new bleachers we just finished up at our stadium, those bleachers are completely accessible, and they're wonderful. And we will have a lot of folks that will be able to visit and use those bleachers that maybe otherwise wouldn't. So that thought process is in all of our projects now, and it's going to be a big benefit.
Nice. You mentioned the water feature, and I'm going to just highlight that right now because people have been asking. They're saying, "Where is the pirate ship?" Or where? Yeah. And we're talking the pirate ship, right? That's now gone.
It's gone.
And there's a rock there right now in place, but soon enough there will be a water feature. So that is the big reason why. So of course we had to find the people to plan it and build it. But of course there's an accessibility piece to it as well. And so the pirate ship was not accessible in the past.
No.
And then it was also just time to go. I think it was rotting in the end. It just it had to go. Right.
It was rusting out.
Rusting out. Yes, exactly that. And how about for yourself, Laara? What can you share about looking towards the future?
Well, some of the things we've learned. I'll give an example from a client that uses Bebin quite often. Okay. We learned from that person that an accessible washroom stall, for example, isn't fully accessible if you get stuck inside, because you can open the door to go in, but after the door closes behind you, you can't open it to get out.
Right.
So Dean Lambert is his name, and he was advocating with the front desk for us to have accessible buttons, like automatic door opener buttons installed on so that going in and coming out, the door can automatically open for you.
Right.
So that was something we did at that location because of Dean bringing it forward. But now we've taken that learning to do at a variety of other individual accessible washroom stalls. So we just had one installed at Oliver Woods this week. It became operational. And the arena manager is doing that in some of the arena accessible washrooms. And so I think that's really important, that we take something we learn, whether it's feedback from the community or something we learn through the Rick Hansen audit process, and we look at how we can apply it at other locations.
Yes.
One of the items that was recommended in the Rick Hansen audit for Oliver Woods was to put a mirror on the back wall of the elevator.
Okay.
So if someone goes in the elevator that's a wheelchair user, but they can't turn around, when they go to get out, they can look in the mirror and see behind them.
Of course.
Which is
right.
Stuff you'd never think about.
Something you wouldn't think about, but now
so
we have a few elevators in city facilities,
Yes.
so we'll do that at Oliver Woods, and then it's something we can duplicate at other locations.
Okay.
So moving forward, I think one really important piece with everything that we're learning is not to have tunnel vision with just one site or one washroom at one location, but say, hey, this is a starting place, but let's spread it out from there.
Right.
Duplicate it.
Great feedback, and actually that is a segue into just my last question here with you, and it's just about how people can share that information. So of course, you had Dean who shares or who visits regularly, just basically probably just told someone there, right, and just started talking about it.
Bugging the front desk. They had a deal where if he would get the key for the washroom, because at that time that washroom had a key access only. And he would tell the person at the front counter, if I'm not back in 15 minutes, it means I've got stuck inside. Please come and get me. So they built a relationship.
Right.
And he kept bugging her to get a button on that door. And she ended up sending me an email with his story. Yep. I happen to know Dean. I've known him since he was a little kid, which also meant a lot for it to come full circle. And then we got, Mike helped us fund it. We found funding for that and put it in. So I forget what your original question was.
Well, actually, I didn't even get to it. I mean, really,
how people
just how they would, right? So we talked about the accessibility form, but there are face-to-face, right?
Front counter staff are amazing, and they do pass along feedback. They do care. They listen. We also have customer comment cards at every rec center.
Nice.
If somebody wants to take one home and write it out, they can always email in feedback or phone. Call the manager. Call the facility manager. Talk to us. We're happy to answer questions. We're happy to take calls from our user groups, from our program registrants. And
Yep, that's right. And if they can't find the number to the facility, for example, just call the main city line.
Call the main switchboard.
And switchboard will get them through. So there are multiple ways of doing so.
The accessibility, inclusion, having safe and welcoming and inclusive facilities is a top priority for the recreation managers. We went to the accessibility committee to get feedback, and this is on top of the actual accessibility audits. We did a workshop with the accessibility committee. We've been meeting quarterly, and it's a real priority for us. So
sure is.
Get in touch with any of the recreation managers or Mike, and your feedback will be heard.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. How about some last thoughts before we wrap up here? Let's, what else can we add to this that we haven't talked about yet?
Well, this is great that you were doing this. I think it's, getting this information out, letting people know that we're making these changes. We want to make these changes. We're actively working on them and trying to improve on them. So the more interaction we have with people, the better. So let us know what their thoughts are, some suggestions, and we'll act on them. I mean, it's why we're here, and we want to make sure that these facilities can be used by everybody. That's right. And enjoyed by everyone. The beautiful one that we're sitting in today is
gorgeous,
completely accessible. So it's that means a lot. It does a lot when you hear people come by and say how much they enjoy this place because of the accessibility. You're doing the right thing. And you're on the right path. So
that's right.
It's good.
Yeah, it's a good point. How are you, Laara?
Well, I want to give a shout out to UMO, to BC Transit, who approached us about selling UMO passes and handy dart tickets at our front counters, which we said yes to, and we've partnered with them. So that's another accessibility piece, that people who need handy dart tickets or people who are bus riders can now top up their UMO cards or buy new UMO cards or handy dart tickets at the front desk at any location. So I just wanted to give a shout out to everyone if they're doing that to do it at a rec center. I know there's a lot of site vendors around town, but we actually take the commissions from what we earn from BC Transit and we're putting it back into the LEAP program. So we bought UMO passes for LEAP clients.
Yes.
So that went full circle too.
Okay, nice. Excellent. Great shares. I love that. And Mike, you mentioned something and it just reminded me. So right before we started this podcast, there was someone walking by as we were setting up and she had said that she loved Westwood Lake, the facilities here, because there's nothing like it on the island. And so I was taken aback a little bit because this is what we're talking about today. She had no idea what our topic was. And I believe she was saying it was for a family member. And she just spoke very highly of this facility in particular. And they're not from Nanaimo either. They're from Up Island in Courtenay.
Up Island somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, so it was quite nice to hear that. It was timely, that's for sure.
That's cool.
Yes. Okay, so now my last question for everyone. This is one of the biggest questions that I ask everyone. And it's Nanaimo bars. Yes or no? Who wants to start on this one?
A little too sweet. Small piece of them. Half a Nanaimo bar and I'm good.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, he's honest, right, Laara? He was honest about that.
He was honest.
Yes, right.
So I think I'm not a Nanaimo bar person, but when they're put in front of me, I tend to eat multiples.
Okay, fair.
So
fair.
I think I am a Nanaimo bar person. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks to you both for coming on the podcast and indulging us with trying something different. We heard some background noise throughout this whole thing. I heard kids. I heard music playing.
Someone was pumping up their stand-up paddleboard behind
Is that what
you.
that
That's
was?
what that noise was. Yeah.
I heard that. I saw some kids walking by. I heard toilets flushing. Like it was amazing. And so this was definitely a special experience for sure. Again, thanks to you both. Have yourselves a great day.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Dale. Take care.